want to talk to you about 3 benefits of having a book coach. Rick Allison said, you can either learn from your own mistakes or from someone else's. So what would you rather do? Would you rather make your own mistakes and waste a lot of time and money and frustration? Or would you rather learn from someone who has made mistakes already and can save you time and money and provide a system and strategies to help you get where you want to go? I am a book coach. I help entrepreneurs write, publish, and profit from their books. If you'd like to learn more, I invite you to sign up for a free strategy session with me. You can find that on my website at ruthlsnyder.com. Welcome. This is Choices from Struggle to Strength. Welcome, Celia.
Hi, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So tell us what you are passionate about and why.
I am very passionate about systems, processes, streamlining, communication, and building relationships. And I'm passionate about these components because they support myself. And then I found that they support business owners with designing their businesses around their lifestyle vision and being able to make it a reality. So they have more control over their lives versus living in reaction mode.
Yes, it's so easy to get into that reaction mode, isn't it?
Yes. And it's exhausting.
It is. So share your story about the difficult event or events that you experienced.
Yes. The biggest event happened in the summer of 2013, and I completely burnt out and had a complete health crisis. At that time, I was working 7 days a week. Usually for months and weeks on end. I had a client load of about 35 clients that I would see weekly. Plus I was freelancing and I was performing. I was a musician at the time. And out of nowhere, I started experiencing all kinds of health ailments. And the doctors told me it was stress and anxiety. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I'm not stressed. I'm not anxious. And my world literally unraveled within a period of weeks. It was completely devastating.
Wow. Your body just said enough is enough.
Enough. Yes. And I was young. I was 33, and it was at the time I was talking with my husband about starting a family, and it just, everything fell apart at that time.
That sounds really tough.
It was.
So what did you find helpful working through that?
Well, I knew that I couldn't continue carrying on like I had been. There was no way that I physically could sustain that workload of all of the clients, of everything that I had going on, working 7 days a week. Just physically, I couldn't. So first, what I had to do was an evaluation of my life and my career and decide what my options were at the time.
So was there a particular time during that struggle when you knew you had to change what you were doing and make a choice to move forward in a different way?
Yeah. I mean, that was really that moment that I realized that I couldn't continue on anymore and continue on that path. And I, with that evaluation, I started to explore what my options were in terms of career, because I was burned out on the music career. And so I started looking at, well, what are my options? What are my skills that I could apply and move forward into something different? And I went on that journey then of exploring options while I was starting to heal as well, working with different practitioners and going to all different sorts of doctor's appointments. There was this deep inner journey and inner transformation happening, behind the scenes.
Right. So how has that struggle made you a stronger person?
Well, I think that the strength is actually in softening, is finding compassion for myself, compassion for others. It's taught me empathy and opened up connections and relationships. It taught me that I can create a different scenario for myself. It taught me how to create a whole new career, that I could follow my dreams, that I could pursue my passions and really be successful in anything that I went for. And there's a strength in that, knowing that even if a week or month or 2 years from now or whatever, that I decided that I needed to make a change, that I could do it and pick back up again. So there's an inner knowing that I have now as a result of that, that I wouldn't have had without that experience.
So how do you learn to listen to yourself more so that you don't go down that path again?
That's a great question. I spend a lot of time in the quiet. So I like to do a lot of self-development work away from business, away from career stuff, and just focus on Celia, developing Celia. What do I want? What is my vision? And then doing things that that allow me to explore that, reading books, journaling, taking different courses that are around self-development, and also just listening to those inner nudges that I get, like listening to my inner voice and my inner guidance, and then taking actions on that inner guidance that I receive. And that's really helped me to build a life where I trust myself. I've done that more and more, especially over the last year, and seen amazing transformation. So it's really about getting quiet and tuning out of the noise of the external world to listen to that quietness within us that's guiding us and directing us all the time.
Sometimes we think the opposite, right? We think we need to dive in and go harder and work harder and it'll change, but it doesn't.
It doesn't. And if you're in a position like I was, where I was really burnt out, there was no way that I could work harder to make a difference. Pulling back was the only option. And it's like you said, it's an option that's often unexplored, and it's opposite of the way that we've been conditioned to think that we create success and results in our lives.
Mm-hmm. So you talked a little bit at the beginning about what you do now. What doors or opportunities have opened to you because you've worked through this struggle?
Well, it introduced me to the world of coaching. When I first got into my first business in 2008, I didn't know what coaching was. And I look back and think, oh my gosh, had I had a coach from the beginning? So I was introduced to coaching. I was introduced to energy work and different practitioners and alternative health. And as a result of all of that journey of getting support, I hired my first coaches, and I stepped onto a new path in life. I stepped onto a new career, and it was a journey. I tried different things for, a few years at a time. And ultimately, I found my place into doing what I do now, which is systems and processes and documentation, and seeing how if I had that in the past, my 2008 self or my 2013 self, how that would have prevented so much pain and struggle in my life. And so I feel like now I'm giving back to my past self in a way by doing what I do now. So just many opportunities and chances to become an expert in areas that I would have never imagined. Like I worked on a sales team for a couple years and, got really high level, kind of a high rank in sales, and, really evolving in like marketing and business development, just things that I was kind of loved, but I didn't really give myself the permission to explore until after this experience.
So do you have any advice for people who may be feeling burnt out and just need to change?
Yes. So the first thing I would say is really listen to your heart and where you're feeling guided and what your heart is calling you to do. That is often the most difficult place to be, because our heart is calling us in a direction that's different than what we're used to doing. And it brings up all sort of scary stuff around fear and worry and concern and rejection, and just all the fear brain kicks in. And so it's, really listening to your heart, and then having people in your life that you can talk to, where you can express. Because I know for me, I'm a verbal processor. And so I really need those people in my life that will just like hear me and share with me, and not just like a therapist, but like a friend that wants to be there for you and listen and understand you. So that's the first thing, is listening to your heart, and then having people that you really trust, that you can share what's going on with, that you won't feel judged. And, really uncover what your dream and your vision is of what you would really love in the midst of struggle and pain. That's the best time to evaluate, well, what do I want my life to be at? I've heard many people share that, like, from rock bottom is where they created like their ultimate success. So, every dream needs a leap of faith. And it also needs practical action steps to get there. So if you're one of those people that you're kind of in that dreaming phase, you also need to have those action steps that you can take one step at a time to get and build that vision, and that there is hope and there are answers available and support to help you get out of whatever you're dealing with. It's just that you have to be open to see them and receiving them.
Yes. Do you have any thoughts? You mentioned the importance of having people that you could talk to and get perspective from. If people don't have that supportive community, how do they start building that into their life?
Yes. Well, I would say first, a great place to start is online. We're so connected with people now through Facebook groups. And so you can go into different like paid membership communities, even where, and they don't have to be super high end, but just like where somebody is teaching on a topic that you're really passionate about, that you feel like will help you move forward. You can come into different communities, and they don't have to just be on Facebook, but just places where people looking for common interest group, where people who are interested in what you're interested in, Meetup.com, social networks, and just start exploring. And then also really do an evaluation of like who is in your life that maybe really wants to support you and be there for you, but you just haven't been open to that. Those are the places that I would start for sure. The kind of the current friend evaluation, and then also just speaking up and telling people what you need and seeing how they respond. Like some people, they really want to be helpful. They really want to give advice. Sometimes you feel like they want to fix you. And it's like, hey, you know what? I don't want to be fixed. I don't want to be coached. I just need somebody to listen to me right now. And that openness with yourself, first of all, will help you to communicate that with others, and it will transform your relationships completely.
Yeah, I think that's a big key, isn't it? Just being able to verbalize that we need help and what kind of help we need, because people can't read our minds.
No.
And I don't know about you, but people have been surprised when I've started sharing some of the things that I'm going through, because I smile and I carry on my life, but smiles can hide a lot of things. And so we need to be open and share what's going on. Otherwise, people have no idea.
You're right. And I think that's where, like I mentioned, the compassion earlier, like having that compassion for ourselves helps us to be more compassionate with others, so that when they are sharing, we understand and we can relate to them more, and, and just be one of those people that is, open to those relationships for sure. But it's definitely an openness and a willingness to share that is the root of that, right?
Yes. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Yes. I really encourage you to focus on sustainability. There's a conditioned belief that, especially around women, but I see it in men too, that we have to do everything ourselves. And that there's this pride around asking for help and asking for support. And I think that that's a relevant concept to what we were just talking about the asking for help and tapping into our current networks and relationships. There's so this conditioning of pride that we have to do it all ourselves. And the thing is that that's not always the most sustainable way for growth, for healing, and for transformation. And so there's the asking for help on a friend level, and, being sustainable in that way. but then there's also the investment in ourselves, hiring coaches, practitioners, also getting help around our house to, to support us, and all things that they don't always have to be expensive, right? There are ways to get started, but like we have to look at how much am I trying to carry and what kind of load am I trying to carry on my own that's unsustainable. And if I brought in support and help, how much would that allow me to move faster in the direction of my goals and dreams? And of course, sustainability can be translated into several other areas of our lives, but that's just one specific example.
Yes, that's great. We do try to carry too much, don't we? And that's why we burn out.
We do. We do. We just want to be the superhero and, of our lives. And then we say yes to everybody and we just take on more and more and more and more. And it gets to be this big load that's just too much to carry, especially when we have our own needs that we really need to tend to.
Mm-hmm. So what's the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to learn more?
Yes. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Celia Faye Meisel. I have a website it's multifacetedresults.com. And if you're in the entrepreneur space, I do have a free gift that I can share with you, Ruth. I don't know if you share that with your people, but it's 9 mindset mantras to fast track and be a multiple 6-figure CEO in your business. And it's all about the sustainability and the mindset pieces and a lot of the things that we talked about today to really build that life and that business that's a reflection of your lifestyle goals and what you want for yourself in your life. So those are the 3 ways you can connect.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for being with us today and for sharing what you've experienced and how it's made a difference in your life. Any last thoughts before we sign off?
Yes, I will. Thank you so much for having me. And I just really want to drive home again that you can rebuild your life, and your struggle does not have to be seen as this painful, difficult, awful thing that happened in your life. When we start to look at the gifts that it brings and the advantages that it creates for us, our whole perspective around our relationship with the struggle shifts, and struggle doesn't have a negative connotation anymore. And I think that's really what your questions and your podcast is about, that there is hope and it can lead us into something totally different and surprising and unexpected and joyful if we're open to that.
Yes, definitely. It's easy to focus on the struggle and all the negative things that are happening. But I have found gratitude to be a huge game changer in my life. And every morning I make a point of writing down 3 things, minimum of 3 things that I can be thankful for that day, no matter what I'm going through. And that really helps change perspective. So just because we're struggling doesn't mean that we can't be grateful. And it doesn't mean that this is the end of the story. We all go through struggles. So thank you for reminding us of that the struggle is not the end of the story. And it doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean that it's the end of your hopes and dreams. It could be the beginning.
Exactly. Yes.
Thanks, Celia.
Yes. Thank you for having me, Ruth.
And so I would encourage all my listeners to go to Celia's website and check that out and take advantage of that free gift and see if she can help you more in what you're working on. Have a great day.